is, how awesome downtown is. Well, back in the late 1800s, that wasn't the case. It was all factories and warehouses and dirt roads. It was called the Black Smoke City because how polluted it was. You couldn't even see across from the river from all the fumes that came from the boats, the trains, and factories. Now, it really wasn't a place where you worked in a nice office space or lived in a nice apartment. You just come to Chicago to work, and then you bounce. Now, there was this one man named William Wrigley Jr. William Wrigley. Does that name sound familiar to you all? That same Wrigley came to Chicago with only $32 in his pocket, which is equivalent to $1,000 in a debit card. Wow. Real talk, how long does that last? So you had to start grinding and hustling, and they did this by selling you soap. Now, in order to help you convince to buy his soap, he'll throw in a complimentary pack of gum. That was Juicy Fruit chewing gum, and thus became his fame and fortune. He's like, you know what, I'm just gonna sell gum instead. Now, when he made it big, he wanted to move his headquarters to downtown Chicago. Now, on your right, you're gonna see this beautiful white wedding cake tower. That's the Wrigley Building, built in 1921. See, at the time, William Wrigley wanted to bring a breath of fresh air product to not only us, but to the city. Now, that was double mint gum, and that's why the building is decked out in white terracotta. That's because when you chew double mint gum, your teeth will be bright white clean, just like the building. Now, you'll notice how this looks like a Spanish cathedral. We borrowed this concept from La Giralda, and this is known as Spanish Revival. Now, the Wrigley Building would be a major game changer because previously large buildings were either used for pyramids or castles, and now we are using them to identify a business or a person. And about 100 years later, we have another building named after another business person coming in as the second tallest skyscraper in Chicago with Trump International Hotel Tower, built in 2009. You'll notice how it's decked out with these stacks. Architects like to call those setbacks. And each setback is meant to complement the height of its neighbors. The first one is for the Wrigley, the second one's for the Jewelers, and the third one is for the Mather Tower. You'll see how it's decked out with this beautiful mirror aesthetic. That's because it wants to reflect its neighbors. But more importantly, it wants to reflect the energy of the river. And that's because it understands what matters the most. Now, this style of vibing or plur is known as contextualism. Contextualism understands what knows what's more important. In this case, it's not the tower itself, but it's the river. Now, on your left, you're going to see a chess piece item resembling the bishop. That's going to be the Jewelers Building, built in 1926. Now, this was built in a time period of Al Capone, where you had gangsters lurking the streets and people were scared to go to the banks. So what they would do is drive their car to the Jewelers Building, park in a car elevator, take it to the top, and deposit the cash money and gold. Now, speaking of Al Capone, that dome you see was once a legendary speakeasy of his known as the Stratosphere Lounge. Now, on your right, you're going to see two white corncob towers. That's Marina City, built in 1967. It is dubbed a city within a city. A city within a city. A what?
City within a city.
Now today, we can just go to any corner store, pick up groceries, go to the gym, cafe, dry cleaner. You know, an inner city lifestyle. But in the 1950s and 60s, that wasn't even a concept. Plus, Americans are flying out to the suburbs to build a dream house and start making babies. Hence the baby boom generation. And this would cause a depression not only to Chicago, but to cities nationwide. At the time, Mayor Richard J. Daley had to unleash his power and save Chicago by not losing to suburbia. He did this by allowing this project of a 3-acre apartment complex be built, known as Marina City. Now, it is dubbed a city within a city for a reason. Like I said, today you can go to any corner, pick up groceries, go to the gym, cafe. But in the 1950s and 60s, that did not exist. So Marina solved its own riddle by installing its own grocery store, cafe, gym, swimming pool, parking lot, and a dock so you can park your yacht. This would be a major game changer because from here on out, wherever you go in the world and you see these high-rise inner city lifestyle apartment complexes, Marina was the very first to start that trend. Now, on your left, you're going to see a building with a bunch of hashtag patterns. That's the Leo Burnett Building, built in 1989. Now, this is a love letter to the first school of Chicago architecture, as it's giving throwback vibes, expressing the skeleton form with the base, the shaft, and the capital. Now, the Leo Burnett is home to iconic commercials such as Tony the Tiger, Pillsbury Doughboy, and it inspired hit jingles such as Like a Good Neighbor. That all came from the Leo Burnett Building, showcasing Sex and City charm on a global scale.